Hello and welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me again this week. My name's Gemma. If you're new here, I'm coming to you from my home in Devon, and this is a weekly video that I put out about the things I've been making, focusing primarily on knitting, but I also do a little bit of sewing, a little bit of quilting, crochet and cross stitch. So yeah, every week I come and share what I've been working on for the week, talk about the highs, the lows, the things I've learned, the things I've enjoyed, things I've not enjoyed, and hopefully you enjoy the videos too. So welcome. It's been a bit of a manic week. I've not got an awful lot to actually show you physical making. I've been doing a lot, and I'll go into that in a minute. So I'm going to show you the project that's had most of my time this week. If you've been here before, I think you'll be fairly impressed with the progress I've made. And yeah, then it's the middle of the year, believe it or not. It's July. I don't quite know how that happened. It's quite late. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. I'm usually editing by this point and uploading the podcast, so it is going to be a bit later. But as I've already said, it's been a crazy week. But as it's July, what I thought I'd do is have a little look back at some of my favourite projects from 2024 so far. I've actually picked my top 4 finished objects from 2024. And I thought it was really interesting going through my projects and looking at them and seeing which ones stood out to me as being the most enjoyable or the ones I'm most proud of. And that may well inform my making for the next 6 months, or more like as not, I'll go, oh, how interesting, and just carry on doing whatever strikes my fancy at any point. So yeah. So that's that. Nothing more to add really. So let's get on and I'll show you the project that's had most of my time this week. I've been doing socks, but they go in a dedicated summer sock camp video at the moment, about once a fortnight. I'm updating you on my adventures with summer sock camp run by Kay Litton. The previous video just went up on Sunday, so if you want to see my socks, go there. I'm also doing cross stitch, but I'm putting that in dedicated videos at the moment because I'm doing the 100-day project as well. I have to slap myself on the wrist though, because I have not done any cross stitch for the last 2 days, so I need to catch up. And this is before I go away this weekend, which is bonkers, but there we are. So anyway, with regards to making, I have made some progress on the peanut vest by Tin Can Knits. So here we are. There it is. As you can see, it is now a vest. It has a front with a little V-neck. It has a back. It has armholes, which are sewn up. I've grafted them together. And it has a hem. And it's about to get, it's in the process of getting its collar and then its bands around the armholes, and then it will be done. So this is the Peanut Vest by Tin Can Knits. It's a paid for pattern. It only goes up to 2 to 4 years. So it's not one of the ones that they do which go up to fully fledged adults. So this is the last chance I'm going to have to make this for my summer, which makes me feel a little bit sad, but hopefully I'll find something that will tick the box for next time. The yarn I've used is James C. Brett Stonewashed DK. It's 100% acrylic, very affordable. I picked it up from the Wells Knitting Centre in Wells, in Somerset. There we go. They're a client of mine for Search Press, and when I was there, I picked up some yarn that I needed for another project and saw this and could not resist. I don't know the colourway name. I might look it up. I'll probably put it on my project page on Ravelry. We'll see. It reminds me very much of the beach, the kind of blues, the tans, the browns, the little kind of lighter areas. I don't think it's pooled really at all. It's definitely not self-patting. I really like the colour distribution in this. It's 100% acrylic, which I don't usually knit with, but I've really enjoyed the process. I like the stitch definition as well. It's been fine. I cast it on the 9th of June and it's now the 3rd of July. Gosh, it's going quickly, isn't it? As I say, it's the 3rd of July and I've almost finished it. If I hadn't been so busy doing all the other things, I probably would have finished it by now. So I'll go into a little bit more about that in a moment. But yeah, easy to follow. I love Tin Can Knits patterns. The pattern itself is designed to have some colour work across the tummy, but I haven't done that because I didn't want to do colour work. I just wanted a simple in the round vest pattern that I could do for my son after I knit a Serdar vest pattern for my husband's cousin's son's first birthday, which was knit flat and seamed, and my son saw it and really wanted a vest. I'd already picked out this yarn for him for potentially a sweater, so I was like, right, I'm doing an in the round one this time. So it's been really interesting to have an in the round construction and bottom up. One thing I was a bit wary of was whether or not my tension would change between the part where you're knitting in the round, which goes up to this little bit here where you stop for the armholes and the front, and the bit where you're knitting back and forth, because obviously once you split for the armholes, you can't carry on going round and round. You have to knit each front and the back. And quite often you will find that your tension, your gauge changes whether you're knitting stocking stitch in the round, because that's just the knit stitch round and round and round, or whether you're knitting stocking stitch back and forth, because sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes a lot of the time, people's tension is different whether they're knitting or purling. And that's particularly true of someone like me who's a thrower. Although I don't know if it's just because I'm a thrower. I don't know. But anyway, this time I haven't had that issue. I'm really pleased. There's not an obvious, at least not to me, maybe it's obvious on camera, but to me, to my naked, quite blind eye, I can't see a difference in my tension. So that's really good. The only thing I got into a pickle with the pattern was I did read it. I did exactly what it said, but then I didn't believe what it had said. So usually when you knit an armhole, you knit up to the shoulder, but it's the centre shoulder sitting right on the top here. You can see where the seam of my frock is. It's right on the top there. And so then when you knit the front, the actual depth of the armhole from the top of the shoulder to the bottom of the armhole on the front would be the same as the top of the shoulder to the bottom of the armhole on the back. So when it came to grafting the shoulders together, because you don't cast off and then sew them up, you graft them the same way you would socks. And I tried to line them up. I thought, this is wrong. My fronts are way longer than my back. And I actually started unpicking, because I counted the rows as well. I was like, goodness, there's a really big discrepancy here. So I actually started unpicking one of the fronts. And I don't know what it was, but something made me think, actually, I want to go and check the pattern. I'm so glad I did, because the way this is done is it actually has the grafting, which you hopefully you can't see. Have a good look. Tell me if you can spot it. Tell me how easy it is to spot. I'm so proud of this. This is not like a toe. Grafting a toe I do it all the time. I don't need the recipe anymore. I know it off by heart. If you're curious to know how to graft, I've got a 2-minute Tuesday tutorial in my tutorials playlist. It's never perfect. I never get it completely perfect. I'm always distracted or in a rush, or sometimes someone talks to me and I forget which bit I'm on and all the rest of it. But it's fine, because it's the toe of a sock, and A, no one should be looking that closely, and B, they're going to be in your shoes. This time, there's nowhere to hide. Excuse me, hiccups. This time, there's nowhere to hide. So I'm so chuffed with it. But let's get back to what I was actually saying. So rather than sitting on the top of the shoulder, this time the graft is actually a little bit further back. So I think it's 4.25 inches. I don't know, but it's it's under 5 inches for the back, the depth of the armhole, and the front it goes to about 5.5, and it averages out at being 5 overall for the depth, because once you've joined it in a circle, it doesn't. You know what I mean? Hopefully you know what I'm trying to say. So I went to all the trouble of unpicking it, only to reread the pattern and go, oh, I did do it correctly after all. So I've grafted it together now, and I've picked up for the collar. I'm actually going away this weekend. I'm going up to Kent to go to the Search Press Summer Sales Conference. I think if you've been here a few weeks or even a couple of months now, you'll know that I freelance for Search Press Books. They're the biggest art and craft publishers in the UK. They distribute worldwide. Their HQ is in Kent, and that's how I got to know them really well from when I was running a yarn shop. And now I've moved to Devon. They've asked me to look after their retailers here on a freelance basis, which is perfect for me. It was perfect when I didn't really know what the move would entail or what our lives would look like. So yeah, I get to go to shops, art and craft shops around the southwest, and it's the most beautiful country to drive around in. It's just stunning. I get to meet the nicest people, and I have to work very, very hard not to spend my entire commission in each shop I go and visit. But anyway, long story sideways, once a year we all have to come together at HQ, and that for me is this weekend. We're all coming together, all going to look at the books that are coming out in the latter half of 2024, which I'm so excited about. And yeah, so I'm going to be staying with my friend Mina, knitting expat, and I'm going to take this with me. So my hope is that when I come back from being away for the weekend, I'll say, I'm sorry I left some, but look, here's a sweater. And hopefully he'll love it. So yeah, I love it. I picked up the yarn in Wells Knitting Centre in Somerset. Apologies if I've already said that, but I've recorded this like 4 times already this evening. I'm even more waffly than usual. Very affordable, like the yarn. I'm just about to break into my second 100-gram ball. I can't stop looking at that yarn. I'm looking at the colours. I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at the colours of the yarn. I just absolutely love it. I'm so happy with it. It's fine because I'm going to knit one for my son's cousin as well. So you will be seeing double. But there we are. So that is the project that's had most of my attention this week. Reason being, why have I not been doing much else? I've obviously been knitting on socks. Again, I direct you to that series. I've been doing some cross stitch, but my time has been taken up with dyeing yarn because the weekend after this one coming, I'm actually going to be I'm going to in the coach up to Yarningham, which is a yarn festival in Birmingham, if you couldn't figure that out. And yeah, my friend Mina, the knitting expat, has been asked to be a designer and have a designer showcase stand at the festival. And she's asked me to be her booth buddy. Of course, I said yes. I get to go to a festival that I've wanted to go to for ages, but never had the chance. And I get to hang out with one of my best friends for the whole weekend, which is just amazing. And then the icing on the cake, the absolute cherry on the top, is the designers are allowed to have kits on their stands. And Mina asked me if I would dye some exclusive kits for her patterns. So I've been busy dyeing yarn again. I showed a picture last time of the rainbow wing shawl. I'll flash it up again. I haven't got the photography done yet of the new colourways and the other kits, but I'll be taking pictures this weekend. But the reason, even though it's 2 weekends away, the reason I've been rushing and spending all my free time dyeing yarn is because I'm taking it with me this weekend. I'm taking it with me tomorrow because Mina's driving it up and I'm getting the coach up to Birmingham. I don't want the extra bags and I don't want the responsibility of getting them there in one piece. And if I get them to Mina's in my car, which is relatively secure, and then she can take them to Birmingham in her car, which is also relatively secure, and we should be absolutely fine. So that's what I've been busy doing. Dyeing yarn, and the other thing is my introduction to neuroscience in the early years course. I'm doing a long distance further education kind of foundation level course about neuroscience in the early years. So I had an assignment that's due tomorrow, but obviously I needed to get that out of the way as well because I'm traveling. And yeah, anyway, I got it in and I passed, and I have received some very lovely feedback from my tutor. So I'm very excited about that. So I've been learning all sorts of amazing, fascinating things. So that's where we are. That's where we are with the making at the moment. Not a lot more to say to that. So as it's July and we're halfway through the year, I thought I would go through a little bit of what I've made so far in 2024. I've looked on Ravelry. I've looked on Ravelry, which I'm using to track my project, and I've completed 24 things so far in 2024, which isn't bad going. Ravelry has the option of setting yourself a challenge with how many things you would like to make, but as part of my resolution for a year, I have filled that out with 0. I thought I'd see if it would work. Could I set a target of 0? And actually, it lets you do that. So I've completed 24 projects out of 0, which isn't bad going. That's comprised of 2 headbands, 2 shawls, 3 hats, 3 baby garments, 7 pairs of socks, 1 pair of gloves, 3 toys, 2 dishcloths, and 1 washcloth. And I've picked out my 4 favourite makes so far from this year, my 4 favourite finished objects. And actually it was really interesting when I was choosing them. Oh, there's a cat. Hello. The ones that stood out to me as being the most enjoyable are the ones I'm most proud of. It was really telling actually about my making, and it should, in theory, inform what I do going forward for the latter half of the year. In reality, and if you've been around for any period of time, you will know this, it's not going to make a blind bit of difference. I'm probably just going to carry on making things willy-nilly in whatever direction I fancy at the time. So we're halfway through. Let's do a top 4 of 2024 so far. So the first one, and I didn't even need to look on Ravelry for this, I knew I had to talk about it, is the Plait headband. I finished Mina's daughter's headband, which I'd actually started almost 2 years ago. Or had it been 2 years? And for some reason, I just hadn't got going with it. And I sat down and I made myself do it, and I did it in time for Christmas this year, I think. Yes, just about. Got it down to have for Christmas. And having done that, I then immediately cast on another one for my mother-in-law's birthday, stepmother-in-law's birthday. And I did it in a few hours. I absolutely loved it, and I really loved the process. So it's by Olga Jazzy Knits. It's called the Plait. I'm going to be putting up pictures here. I've got some B-roll of the actual knitting of it as well, but it's in another video with lots of B-roll. So if you're interested in how it's made, then look at that. But what I wanted was a headband that looked like a plait. I didn't want it to look like cabled knitting. I wanted it to look like the fabric had actually been plaited together. I had no idea how I'd go about doing that. But as it happens, Olga Jazzy Knits did. She had the perfect pattern, and it's just gorgeous. I used West Yorkshire Spinners Retreat Chunky, which is a single ply. In fact, it's unplied. It's a single roving yarn in chunky weight. It's beautifully soft to knit with. It's made from Kerry Hill sheep, which are the cutest blue-faced Kerry Hill sheep. They look like they've got little knee pads on, and it's just, oh, they're so gorgeous. Stop this and Google that. I tell you, that'll give you a smile. You need to see blue-faced Kerry Hill sheep. They're just so sweet. And I absolutely loved it. I loved the process from start to finish. Maybe I'll make myself one. I'm not sure if I'm a headband person, but I really enjoyed it. So if I've got any chunky yarn lying around, what I'm likely to do, maybe, I say I'm likely to do, you know what I'm like for making plans. I make them and then just watch as they disappear off, and I do something completely different. I would quite like to make some and have like a stash to give as gifts, because I just think they're really cool. And it comes in 3 sizes. It's a paid for pattern. Once you get into the swing of it, it's deceptively easy. I did find the way the pattern was written slightly confusing because it was a new to me construction. I'm not sure it's anything to do with the translation. It might be, but it was also a new to me construction, which did make things harder. However, actually looking on Olga Jazzy's tutorials, brilliant, game changer. I just got away with it brilliantly at that point. So that was my first top project of 2024. The next one was the cabled baby sweater. So this is by Lara Simonsen, and I can't think what she goes as a designer now, but I'll pop it down here if I can. This one was the one of 1,000 stitch markers. There is a cat that's just joined me, if you wondered what that thud was. It's the one of 1,000 stitch markers. I jingled more than Santa's sleigh when I started it, and there was a moment where I thought, good grief, this is complicated. What am I doing? And it's not really complicated in the grand scheme of things. It's a top down in the round sweater. So you increase for the yoke. It's much like the flax. The difference is you've got cables down the sleeves and a cable down the front. The stitch markers are 100% essential. Do as she says and use them. I would have got into such a pickle if I hadn't. And after a while, you can drop them when you get into the swing of the pattern. I wouldn't recommend doing it before finishing the yoke, but you can drop them and reduce the number that you have. It's important to mark off your rows in that pattern. Definitely important to keep track of where you are with that one. But the end result I was so pleased with. I used Stylecraft Love You, which is a cotton acrylic blend that I picked up, and it's an Aran weight, and I picked it up from Banbury's department store in Bideford, or it could have been Barnstable, one of the two. They've got two department stores, one's in Bideford and one's in Barnstable. So anyway, I picked them up from there when I was seeing a client, and I loved it so much that I bought more yarn in Wells Knitting Centre to knit a second one because the baby bus has come to town. So far, all I've done is the neckband and the setup, so it's just jingling, but I got distracted by other things, which is very me, but there we are. Yeah, so that's that one. I'm very pleased with that. The third one is the Stegosaurus. It's a toy. It was part of a free kit that I got with a magazine some time ago. And earlier in the year, for whatever reason, I just thought, I fancy making these. I'm going to make my son a dinosaur. And I made him the Triceratops first, because that was his favourite dinosaur. Made him a Diplodocus and a Stegosaurus. And the Stegosaurus is actually my favourite. It's a double knitting weight, and I didn't use the yarn that came with the kit. The kit comes with the yarn for you to do a couple of the dinosaurs. But the Stegosaurus is a bonus pattern, so you get the pattern but not the yarn. And I used a scrap yarn that was left over from the little gnome sweater that Mina, it's all about Mina today clearly, but Mina knit her little gnome sweater for Robin for his first birthday, and she gave me the leftover yarn, which was Vivacious DK in Blue Lagoon, I think, or Aqua, I can't quite remember. So it's doubly special because my son really loved it. I really enjoyed the construction. It was something different. Although it was knit flat, it was something different. I enjoyed the construction. And it was also special because it was the leftover yarn, and my son loved it. So there's that one. So the fourth pattern I picked is the Over the Ocean sweater. This was a new kind of re-release by Crafty Knits. She's a Devon-based designer. It had initially been released in a knitting magazine a couple of years ago, but she got the rights back, and so she was updating and rewriting the pattern. She needed testers. I was like, yep, absolutely, I want to make that. I'd really enjoyed the patterns of hers that I'd done before. She does interesting things with cables and texture and shaping, and I was really keen to try this one. For this one, I used my own hand-dyed yarn in Superwash Merino. The colourway is Babacom, and it was for my brother-in-law and his girlfriend, whose little one is due in a couple of weeks. Because it's a DK and it's a sweater, I did the 6-month size, because being a summer baby, by the time it's 6 months, it'll be sweater weather, hopefully. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Once I got into the swing of the stitch pattern, it became potato chippy. Gauge was fine. Kat writes her patterns really, really clearly. If you haven't tried a Kat Crafty Knits pattern yet, I do recommend it. Yeah, I just loved it. I love the texture. I love the shaping. I love the way the raglans were done. It turns out I did the raglan incorrectly. I didn't read the pattern properly. I can't remember what mistake I made, but it made for a slightly holy bit on the raglan, but it blocked out. It was fine. That has now been given to my in-laws. Said to them, be honest, because hand knits for babies aren't everyone's cup of tea. I think there's still a little bit of stigma about it for some people. I said, look, I've dyed the yarn. It's merino. It's machine washable. It's a Devon-based designer. It's a new pattern. If you don't like it, if it's not your aesthetic, if it's not for you, just be really honest with me and tell me. I'd much rather you tell me, and then I can make something different. Or if you'd rather not have anything handmade, that's fine. Just tell me. And the answer came back straight away. No, we love it. Please, thank you. And I was like, oh, great. So, I love hand knit things. Obviously, you all love hand knit things. That's why we're here. But it's always a bit of a gamble giving it to someone who hasn't had handmade things sort of around them growing up necessarily. I mean, I don't know about his girlfriend, but I know there's not necessarily been lots of hand knits. Yeah. Anyway, so they loved it. So there you go. Those are my top 4 for 2024. And the thing that's really interesting is they all involve something different. So with the exception of the Stegosaurus, which is a toy and presented its own challenges, the other three are all textured. They've all got cables. They've all got something interesting in the stitching. So I do find that really interesting, and maybe that's telling me that that's what I need to focus on. Maybe I just need to explore texture. In regards to my most enjoyed whips works in progress, at the moment it's the Vervain sock from 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 1. It's got that lace panel I think I showed you last time, or definitely showed you in the sock video, and I'm really enjoying that. So maybe lace and cables is where I need to go with my making. Really enjoying them, really enjoying them. There's always going to be a love of vanilla sock for me. I do love a bit of stocking stitch. There's nothing better. But what's certainly capturing me and I'm most enthusiastic about and I'm remembering the most are those textured and lace knits. And I'm in a place now where I'm going to have more time. I'm going to have my evenings back. I'm in a great place with my mental health. You know, all the things are kind of falling into place here in Devon. So maybe that's what I'm going to do. Or maybe I'll just carry on doing whatever I feel like, whenever the mood takes me, and finishing things in my own sweet time. Tell me about what you've made so far in 2024. What have you really enjoyed making? Is there something on your needles that you're really excited about at the moment, or your hooks, you know, or your sewing machine? Tell me what you're excited about and what your best makes so far of 2024 have been. Is there a trend for you as well? Are you into texture? Are you into chunky to thinner? I'd love to get to know you and know more about your making, so do drop me a comment below. And for those of you that are going to ask, because I know there's going to be there's always someone who wants to know the answer to this, I've had a quick tally up of my works in progress. And I have 30 at the moment. And on that bombshell, take care. I'll see you soon. Bye.